Good evening,
Good evening.
everyone. Welcome.
Good evening.
My name is Vera Arano. I'm on the board of Rivertown Film. I see there's still a couple people in the waiting room. I'm here to welcome you tonight to our event. The discussion for the documentary about Francis Pratt, Pratt in the Hat. We have Francis Pratt here with us tonight and the filmmakers. But before we introduce them, in case some more people are in the process of joining us, I'll make just a couple of technical announcements. Tonight's discussion is being recorded, so if for any reason you don't want to be recorded, please just turn off your camera. Also, you should know that after Maria Whittingham leads the discussion with the filmmakers and Francis Pratt, will open up the discussion to questions from the audience that you can put in the chat bubble, which you can activate at the bottom of your screen with a little chat bubble, or you can have a reaction. You can raise your hand and we'll, with the reactions, and we'll recognize you. Another thing you should be aware of, at the top of your screen, there's a view button and you have a couple of options, either to see everybody, the whole group, or have this select speaker view. To see everyone, you select gallery view. To see just the speaker big in your screen, you select speaker view. So now that it looks like the waiting room has emptied out, I just want to thank, first of all, everyone for coming. Also thank all of Rivertown's members, donors, and sponsors, and the New York State Council on the Arts for helping to make this discussion possible. And then I want to introduce the people who are on our panel tonight. Francis Pratt is known to so many of us as just an incredible community leader. She was a nurse at the Nyack Hospital, I'm told, for 53 years. She eventually became the head nurse of the emergency room and also earned her doctorate in nursing. She was elected president of the Nyack NAACP in 1980 and just stepped down in 2020. So that's a 40-year term, I think. Is that right? Amazing. The film's director is Susan Hillary, also known to many as Susan Hito Shapiro, and she's been making independent feature films and documentaries since the 1980s. Some of her films have premiered at Sundance and Cannes, and Rivertown has previously presented her documentary Studio 54, in which she was the archival cinematographer. She's a board member of Rivertown Film as well. Producer of Pratt in the Hat is Suzanne Mitchell, who's also with us tonight. She celebrates more than 2 decades of producing and directing documentary films, historical network series, docudramas, and she's the recipient of 2 Emmys, 2 Gracie Awards, an Omni Intermedia Award, and a Cine Golden Eagle. And we're so proud and grateful to Maria Louisa Whittingham to come tonight and moderate the discussion. She is an Nyack NAACP officer, co-founder of Nyack Merchants United, and owner of Maria Louisa Boutique in Nyack. So thank you all, and thank you, Maria, for taking it from here.
Thank you, Vera. And good evening. I am really excited of being here with you this evening. I am very fond of this civil rights activist and beautiful human that inspired this evening's discussion and the film, The Pratt in the Hat, directed by Suzanne Hillary and produced by Suzanne Mitchell. Yeah, wow. But first I want to welcome and introduce somebody who's in the audience, our New York State Senator Elijah Reichlin-Melnick, who has a few words to say and an announcement to make, and to Dr. Francis Pratt, and we're all going to be the flies in the wall. So it's pretty exciting. We get to hear this at the same time. So, Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Maria, and good to see all of you. Great to be here with you, Dr. Pratt. And one of the wonderful saving graces of this crazy year where we're on Zoom all the time is that it allows me to join tonight, even though I'm up in Albany and not down in Rockland this evening. So I appreciate being able to do that. I wanted to join and just take a couple of moments to let you know, I'm very excited to say this afternoon in the New York State Senate, we passed a resolution through the state Senate, and it honors you, Dr. Pratt, for your incredible legacy of service, serving the Nyack NAACP and being a civil rights trailblazer in our community. And for me personally, a mentor, as someone who's had the privilege of working with you in the Nyack chapter for the last decade, seeing what you do with your quiet grace and your dignity that you lead the organization with, and yet you never shy away from a fight. And so it was my privilege and my honor to be able to advance this resolution, have it passed by the Senate this afternoon while we're still in Black History Month, and present it to you virtually here tonight. So I will give it to you in person as soon as we see each other, but I wanted to be able to present this to you at least in spirit and from afar up in Albany this evening. And just to quickly read from this resolution that commends Dr. Francis Pratt upon the occasion of her designation for special recognition after 40 years of dedicated service as president of the NAACP, the Nyack NAACP, and whereas this legislative body, the New York State Senate, is justly proud to commend Dr. Francis Pratt upon the occasion of her designation for special recognition after 40 years of dedicated service as president of the Nyack NAACP. She officially concluded her 4 decades on Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. And whereas Dr. Pratt was elected to her first term as president of the Nyack NAACP in 1980 and took office in January of 1981, and whereas as president, Dr. Francis Pratt organized the annual interfaith service celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a celebration that continues to unite the community around Dr. King's message of unity and equity. And I might add one that it is such a wonderful pleasure to be at every year, including this year where we had to do it online in a very unusual way, but I look forward to January 2022 and we'll be back in person at Pilgrim Baptist and can hear the wonderful choir live and in person. And whereas Dr. Francis Pratt's contributions have been significant, her work against racism and inequality have led to numerous awards and recognition in New York State, including induction into the Rockland Civil Rights Hall of Fame and receiving the Harriet Tubman Award. And whereas Dr. Francis Pratt has a unique style of leadership, she is a known trailblazer and icon who has shaped the path of the Nyack branch of the NAACP. She has inspired the next generation of nurses, advocates, and leaders throughout Rockland. And whereas rare indeed is the occurrence of such a compassionate blending of strength, leadership, intellect, and commitment as that demonstrated by Dr. Francis Pratt over a lifetime of sacrifice and dedication to others, and whereas it is the sense of this legislative body that those who enhance the well-being and vitality of their community and have shown a long and sustained commitment to excellence certainly have earned the recognition and applause of all of the citizens of this great empire state. Now therefore be it resolved that this legislative body pause in its deliberations to commend Dr. Francis Pratt upon the occasion of her designation for special recognition after 40 years of dedicated service of as president of the Nyack NAACP, and to wish her well in all her future endeavors. And this is embossed with the seal of the New York State Senate.
Excellent.
Congratulations, Dr. Pratt.
Thank you, and the best to you also
Thank
in
you
your
so much.
leadership.
Thank you. And I will be getting this over to you as soon as I am back in Rockland.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for getting this through the Senate. It's a worthy honor and certainly so well deserved. Congratulations, Frances. This is just one of many, many recognition awards that you'll be getting through the rest of your life, because everything you've done is worthy of acknowledgement.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And what a wonderful lead into our discussion this evening about the making of the Pratt in the Hat documentary film. And so let's get started. I'm going to start with a question for Susan. I understand that you were inspired to create this film after meeting Frances when you spotted her across the room and her hat at an event. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that led you to actually creating this film.
I was invited by some to come to one of these political dinners, which, to be honest, I find usually pretty boring. And I'm sitting there and listening, and I see Frances, who I didn't know well, but I knew a little bit through my parents had known her. And I see her, and she's just the most charming light in the room. And I was drawn to her, and I went and I sat with her. And initially, the entire project started as just being stills. I just wanted to photograph Frances and her beauty and her hats. And and the art of her hats and her, just her beautiful face. But then as it started the project, Frances has so much wisdom and so many pearls of wisdom. And I realized that we just needed to capture that as well. So it turned into a film, this short film that we did. And I hope that also maybe what will come out of it is going back to the original concept, that maybe there'll be a book of some sort that could maybe be produced out of the stills. Because we have, I think there are well over almost 200 different hats that we have photographs of that she has. And each one is a work of art.
Wonderful. So it sounds like you were attracted, right, by who isn't anyway, by Mrs. Pratt and her hats, and you approached her and you spoke with her, and an idea of photography came into it. And how did it evolve? What it actually became. How did the project evolve from photographing the hats to telling the story?
It's partially, well, I'm a filmmaker. As I've been making films for, I don't even know how many years, many, many years. And just Frances is an amazing subject because she tells the story. She tells the story of her life in a way that is so compelling and so meaningful that it just evolved. The first shoot was we shot stills as well as footage and sound all together. And then she had the historical event that was going on, so we shot that. And then really it was a question of how do we show all these amazing hats? I mean, and Frances, in the middle of the project, she became ill for a short period of time. And so we stopped for a little while. And then I realized I couldn't exhaust her actually to shoot every hat through film. So we just decided to keep it really simple. And we put up a scrim, and I just shot with the iPhone, basically all the stills with Suzanne's iPhone. And that's how we shot the stills, with very simple lighting, and really showed her beauty and the hat's beauty in a very simple way. And that's how it really evolved. And then the whole process of the editing, and Deborah Adame, who's also a Nyack resident, she has a podcast, and unbeknownst to her, I was doing this, and she did a podcast of Frances. So we incorporated some of that story as well. And that's how we got all the pieces put together.
Wonderful. So you actually answered several of my questions in the process of it. And yes, just to say that Deborah Adame does have a podcast called Enlighten Me, I think it's called. And you should find it and listen to the interview with Frances, because it really is wonderful. So the photography was all on an iPhone. That was one of my questions, because the photos are really captivating, and yeah, I guess you could do anything with a good phone now these days.
I think it's all about lighting. You just need to light well. And yeah, with a good phone, it's editable. you know, you can use it in broadcast, it's broadcast quality. So
Yeah,
that's,
no, it was a very, very impressive. And Suzanne, can you tell us how you two of you came together and became
Oh,
partners in this project?
so we met many, many years ago when our children were in kindergarten together at Rockland Country Day School. And I remember I was working in television, and Susan was a parent there who came over to me and said, "Hey, I work in entertainment as well. I was a filmmaker. I moved here recently from LA. We should get to know each other." And we did, and our kids got to know each other. And then over the course of years, and my son wound up going to public school and her kids went to different schools, we would see each other, I guess, at certain art functions. And then Rivertown did a really, we do this really cool, and I'm sure you know about it, a lot of people on this Zoom, called Inspire every year. It's sort of like, I call it a TED Talk on speed. It's like speed dating meets TED Talks. And that particular year, Susan's husband was part of that program. We reconnected again over art, and we said we really have to do some filmmaking together. And then it was great because we had a position available on our board. And even though Susan is incredibly busy with everything she does, she's a Renaissance woman. And I just have to toot your horn for a minute, Susan. You're an organic farmer, an environmental attorney, a painter, a farmer, and a filmmaker. And you do it all really well, all at the same time. So when they say women can multitask, Susan Shapiro is the ultimate multitasker. So she joined the board, even though she has so many other commitments, and then was inspired to create this film, I guess, when she thought about her relationship and meeting Francis, and she said, "I really want to do this." And she gave me the idea that she had, and I sort of stepped back and said, "Yeah, go with it. Let's try this." And we brought Roger on, and we did that first shoot at Susan's house. I love that it's a short. I make so many features, and there's a beauty in the fact that this is a short film and it says so much in 14 minutes that I think it will have real legs even after this amazing screening that Rivertown has been able to put on for the community. This was a community event. Let's think about it. Susan Shapiro lives here. Francis Pratt, our main character, lives here. Roger Grange, cinematographer, lives here. Doris, who did some stills when we were doing the still shoot over at Susan's house, lives here. Rivertown is a community of, society. Maria, you have a business in town. It takes a village, but we couldn't have done it without Francis.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add to thank Rivertown, really, because and Matthew, because I had many other things that were going on as legal cases and various things, and there was a lot of delays in the process. And it was really Matthew's encouragement to get this thing done. And I have to thank him for that, and Rivertown for that. I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. We're glad it happened, for sure. I've already watched it 3 times, and just each time there's a different focus for me that I tune into, and a new hat that I focus on. So it's it definitely has legs. It's something that I do see as a coffee table book as well. So I found this beautiful rhythm between the music and the images of Frances and her hats. How did you curate it? How did you come to where each hat is in sequence, in relation to the others? Because there's something really kind of smooth about how it's flowing. What was that like?
Well, that's the funny thing about the hats is they kept getting moved around. I kept moving them around in each edit. I sorted them by color pretty much. So I have different files with different color hats. So I was able to sift through them color wise And with the music, Frances, I asked her, what's her favorite music? And she likes gospel. So we really focused on gospel music, and that was sort of the beginning tracks that we started laying in. And then we used a soundtrack that I had actually previously produced with Willie Dixon for another film I did many years ago called Ginger Ale Afternoon that went to Sundance. And it's very lyrical, and it's also like a bluesy gospel track. And so once we laid the music in, then we cut the hats to the music in a way. I mean, we had sections where we knew this is a section of hats, but they weren't necessarily the right hats. So there will be one more edit, because as we promoted this is still a fine cut, and I'm still moving some of the hats around. You know, there's certain ways that the colors work together, and there's certain times that we wanted one color hat, and there are other times we wanted changing color hats. And there were times that we didn't want to see her smiling and looking up because it was a very serious moment. So we had the hats when she was looking down. And so there's a lot of movement of the hats. There's still adjustments that will probably be made.
Yeah, but it does feel like a dance. You know, the rhythm is just like it's just a dance as we're watching every still through the film, for sure. So I want to ask Frances a question.
Yes,
Okay, I want to know, what was it like for you to be the star of this show?
well, it's something I never ever expected, but I knew with Susan in charge and at the helm, wherever she was going to make it happen. And she was going to stay there to see what the end was going to be. Now that has taken place.
And what a beautiful project it became.
Yes,
Not just us in the community who know you. Now the world can see you.
well,
The world will see you.
I'm grateful
Yeah.
about it because every human being born was born with the talent. Any of you Bible scholars know that there were people in the Bible that was given talents, some 10 talents. They made those talents develop into more. There was one person who had one talent that buried their talent. But my mother, not on her watch, would she allow any of her children to bury any gifts specifically that God had given them. So I just thank Susan that she was able to help me to enhance whatever little talent I have to bring more talents, and most of all, to try to make a difference in our community, with our people of all race.
And you've done that, and you will continue to do so. I really think that it's a beautiful tribute, for one, beautifully put together, and it's not just about hats. You know, there's a story. There's a beautifully told story, and I actually love seeing the photos, you know, of you as a young girl, and when you came to Nyack, and I see your daughter in some of those photos. I can see that.
That's right.
Through the years, and I've known Frances over 20 years, and Frances has been a supportive friend and wonderful to my son. And there are things that I didn't know, right? So
Yes.
I learned from it, and I know you.
But
So
yes, son is a very clever, very smart, bright young man. And we were blessed to have him in our youth council. That's why we honoring him on the April the 29th.
oh, my son, I know he's wonderful, but he's you've been such an incredible inspiration to him, to Christopher, my son, and we are very appreciative of that. But this is not about us. This is about you.
Well, and then I would say Matthew and Vera and the others.
Yeah, Suzanne and
And
everyone.
the head of
Yeah.
Rivertown. I mean, just knowing and looking at the faces of these people just does something for me.
Mhm.
It just gives me a relationship that I just can't explain.
Yeah, and I think I mean, to me, I see it as people who want to know you, and there are many people who want to know you, who don't know you, got a really nice glimpse, a really good glimpse. And I find that if I didn't know you, I would feel like I knew you and I would want to approach you, if that makes any sense. But it's that kind of feeling that it really feels like it is a family, a community. So thank you. To many more to come. For
Thank
you,
you.
Frances. And yeah, I'm really fond of this woman, if you can't tell by now. I think the world of her. I do have a question for both Suzanne and Suzanne. And that is, working closely with Frances as you did in this film, right? And Susan, you didn't know Frances at all. And Suzanne, I'm not sure if you did or did not. But what did you discover while working on the project with Frances that you did not anticipate?
You want to take it first, Susan?
I'll start, yeah. That Frances is the easiest going, she's so casual with her hats. That was sort of a shock. The way she just has these hats piled on top of each other. I figured they were all going to be in boxes and all very precious. And she's just so easygoing and comfortable to be with and comfortable to work with, and like no extra baggage at all. And I love the way she just sort of tosses these hats around. It's amazing. Well, there's so many, I guess. Yeah.
Well, Susan stole my words because I was going to say, Frances, you're the nicest, kindest, most wonderful talent that I've ever worked with, because you just exude happiness and you just want to please, and you're just amazing. And my husband came up with a great term. He said, we should call these Pratt chats, because just chatting with you and your Prattisms were fantastic. I wish I could have written everyone down because they come out and they flow so beautifully. But there's so much meaning behind those Prattisms that we could all learn from. So thank you. Thank you for bringing me into your life.
Likewise with you in my life. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still hearing some of them for the first time, and it's just always wonderful, you know, and try to borrow them whenever I can. So I think this might be a good moment to see if you have any questions in the audience. And I don't know if you want to like actually raise your hand or add a question to the chat. Okay.
I actually have a question for both Maria and Frances. What is the relationship between fashion and activism? You're both people of impeccable taste. Fashion is very important to you, and you're both activists. Is there a connection?
None whatsoever. It's just that when I was in nursing school, somebody said, how should you dress? And I was so taken back by an answer from an instructor who was a nun. She said, you should dress like you can't see yourself and you want to give somebody else something to see. And my husband, from the first time he saw me in a hat and dressed up, he just, through his entire life, kept that going. He would have me to go on trips, and he would get outfits for me that he had people to match hats to go with the outfits. So when he said, well, have this one back, but he hadn't seen me in it. And he'd be at the airport waiting for me to get off the plane. And he'd just be saying, wow.
Yeah. Frances, I remember picking you up at your house, you know, before going on a convention.
Right.
And there he was with the hats, making sure that everything was all matched up and right.
That's true.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
Right.
I remember that really well. But it's an interesting question, and I think it works when they come together. But you know, the fashion business is not known exactly for you know exclusivity or anything like that, although I do believe it's changing now. And definitely through the last year, the priorities have changed in many ways of how people see fashion and what they choose to support, which then becomes much more inclusive. You know, I've seen much more of the Black Lives Matter movement and support of communities where they're actually being marginalized. And yes, you're getting product, but they're not getting any goods of it. And I think there's much more interest in shopping ethically. And I can only hope that that continues, because that's a difference between getting somewhere close to equity and not. But thank you for the question. Francis, are there any questions before I go on? Any other questions? Any hands that I'm not seeing? Because I only see one screen at a time. Let's see. Yes, Betsy.
I was just wondering whether most of your hats were made locally.
Yeah, well, some of them, a lady from my church named Josette Peterson. My husband would get the frames from Nana's Millinery, and she would cover them with whatever kind of design that we wanted on the hat. So all of them that you see, like with the cross like this, they were made locally. But my husband finally found a millinery on 42nd Street in the city. And that's when most of them were not locally. But that was the only way I could get them when before we found out about the millinery place on 42nd Street, was my husband would get the frames and the material, and Josette Peterson and whomever could sew would cover them for me. Yes.
I didn't
Thanks
know
for
that.
asking.
They're so beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So B. Pohl has her hand up.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Pratt. I don't know if you remember me, but a while ago, you and I sat together to watch I Am Negro. Right, and you came upstairs from the NAACP meeting. And I admire everything you do. I had a cousin who was the president of the NAACP in Long Island until he passed away
Okay.
at 54 years old. So I'm very much aware of the hard work you guys do. My question is more to not the fashion, but when I watch the film, the one thing that renaissance within me was when you spoke about picking peaches to
Right.
go to New York.
Yeah, that's the
And that kind of like got to me, because my grandmother used to tell me stories about her days in Macon, Georgia, picking cotton and how hard it is. And when I heard about how you had to pick all those peaches just so you can get a bus ticket to come to New York, you know, that really renaissance within me in that piece of the film.
That's a great observation. I was born in when segregation was legal in the South. There was nothing in the South that a Black person, that the white person was bound to respect. In other words, we had our place. And not only that, a lot of people tell me to say, I came here in a borrowed suit. No, I didn't. I came here in a suit that the local undertaker gave me. And I can show you the picture of the undertaker people that gave me that suit. And in a pair of shoes that was so small that when I got to Port Authority, I couldn't hardly take them off because my feet had swollen over them and was stuck to them. So back to picking peaches, when I had to go and pick peaches so I could get the bus to come to New York, because my mother was sick and she had said that I had to get a job. So I was able to connect with the school teacher who had a job in Brooklyn, and I started out on a sleep-in job up here. So, but there was a minister and his wife that knew my mother from back home, and I had some college training, so she allowed me to work in my Morris Presbyterian Church nursery, and that was how I was able to go back to college. And then I eventually met the man I married, and and what happened is that I went to nursing school, and I didn't become the missionary I wanted to. But yes, I picked Peaches in Clover, South Carolina, to get the $17 to take the bus up here.
Yeah, and I really, really appreciate that part of the story because that really connected to me and my family. You know?
That's good. That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yes, Beverly.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
That's
Hi, Aunt Frances.
my Dr. Beverly. It's my niece.
I just want to say hello to Aunt Frances and to all the people in the Zoom room tonight. Aunt Frances is my mother's sister, and so I am her niece. And I live here in Flint, Michigan, and I've had I've watched this woman really do her thing over several decades, needless to say. And my mother, when she was living, was a beneficiary of some of your hats, Aunt Frances. So when you told the story in the film about, you know, giving away those hats to your 4 sisters, yeah, that was true. So I just want to say that our family is so ridiculously proud of you, Aunt Frances. And we're so crazy thankful to Susan and to Suzanne for making this film, because it is truly an heirloom for our family. And we just cannot thank you enough for the time you spent in collecting this information. Aunt Frances is a self-described humanitarian, and it was impossible to fit her life into that short 12 to 14 minutes. It told nothing really of it. And many of you that know Aunt Frances, you know this already, but that she took care of women who were mentally challenged in her home for over 40 years, that she built a community garden that served people in the community, you know, free vegetables and just so many other things that other reasons that I look up to my aunt. And, you know, I always say, I want to be you, Dr. Pratt, when I grow up. And so I just want to say how much on behalf of the family, because I am the unofficial publicist within the family for Aunt Frances. And so everything that she sends to me, I make sure I get it out to the whole family. And so on behalf of everybody, we just want to say we love you and we're proud of you. And if you do decide to write that book, I can give you some more info.
Thank you, Beverly. That's my niece, Beverly, from Detroit. It's a sad story. Her mother passed in my arms on the airplane.
Oh,
yeah.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah, on the same day of my wedding reception. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Aunt Frances was in town to visit for the wedding reception, and that was a tragic day. But you know,
I was the head nurse of the emergency room at Nike Hospital. They went to the hospital there in Michigan, and they couldn't save her.
Yeah. But Aunt Frances, you have stepped in and filled that role as a mother to me and my siblings and everybody else in the family. And all of the nuggets of knowledge and the wisdom that you give to all of us, we will we treasure that forever. And you know, one of my favorite sayings: "The rooster crows, but the hen delivers."
That's right.
So I want to I just started typing up all of these little Prattisms because I want to keep them for myself and make sure I never forget them. But thank you for helping me whenever I've had to give a speech to somebody, and you gave me that little nugget of knowledge that a speech has to be like a woman's dress, long enough to be attractive, but short enough to cover the subject. So I use that in a lot of my speeches. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for being on. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Beverly, thank you so much for being here and showing up to your aunt.
She's been in your
Yeah.
store. She shopped in your store when
She
they were
has? Well, thank
Mhm.
you also for that as well. Absolutely. Any more hands up? Because let me just scout the room here. Yes, Francis.
Yes, my name is Frances Simmons, and I'm actually sister-in-law to Beverly Brown.
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Yes, she's married to my brother Willie. And Dr. Pratt, I did meet you
I recall.
more than once, but one time it was at a picnic that
That's
Beverly
right.
and my brother would have annually at their home. And the
That's
other
right.
time was at the wedding reception when
That's right.
yeah,
That's
so I just want to say we started Zoom calls I believe it was last March, and I'm surprised they have continued every Sunday from last March until now. And Beverly sent us, Beverly, I guess that was film clips or something of your aunt in the hats and all when she was speaking all those practices. So I
Yeah.
listened to it twice, and then the second time I slowed down so I could write down each one. And I wanted the family on the Zoom call to pick your favorite practicism. There's so many good ones. All of them were good. It was hard to pick a favorite one. I did like the one that you mentioned about Shirley Chisholm.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I don't give you a seat, bring a
And,
folding chair.
and then if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu.
Oh, that's a good one. That's another
Yeah.
good one. So
That's,
it's a pleasure to see you in your hats and to know you somewhat and to hear all those practicisms. I will be using them. So
thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. This is so
Okay.
wonderful. Any more questions? So see, I'm gonna go to the next page and see if I see any hands up. Anyone else? Francis, how do you store all your hats? And where do you store hats?
My husband built a frame around the bedroom. Frame, and the hats are stacked up on the frame, and I have a pole. Whenever I want to take one down, I take the pole, and when I want to put it back, I put it.
Wow, that's impressive.
Mhm.
Really impressive. Susan and Suzanne both. After finishing this project, and I know it's not completely finished, you're still working on it, but has this inspired you to your next project? Has this just sort of worked with you, to what's coming next? Anything to say on that? And I know that you're still working on some fine tuning of this particular project.
You should go first.
You want me to go
Suzanne?
first?
I'll go first. I
You
don't
go
care.
first.
Okay. Well, first of all, this has been really a pleasure to make this film because I stopped pretty much making films for many years because I was taking care of my family and business, and it was really an inspiration to make a film again. And it was really brought me back to making films. So in the process of finishing this, I came up with another film that I'm going to be making, a feature that I'm planning to shoot this spring. So it was very inspiring. This opened like the gate again for me to start making films again. So it was very exciting. And I wish there were more people like Frances so I can make more of these kinds of shorts, but she's unique. I don't know, there's no one else out there that, that I've met so far in my life that's like Frances. She's a special woman. And I'm so blessed to have, met her, and she allowed me to make this film about her.
Thank you.
No, it's been a wonderful, I think, combination and gathering of people for sure. Any more questions? Let me see.
Oh, Susan.
Any hands up? Not in this room. Let's look at the next one. Anything there? No. So Frances, I know that you can't absolutely have a favorite hat, but maybe you do. I know you said you didn't in the actual documentary, but do you?
Do I have a favorite hat?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, because my husband designed most of them, and because he designed them, they're all of my favorite.
Yeah, they're really unique. And what I love is that they're all so unique from each other.
Mhm.
They are, I don't know, they're like exotic birds. I don't know why that came to mind, but they're like exotic birds, each one of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a project, find an exotic bird next to your hat. You
Well,
gotta practice it on next
I have to let you in on a secret.
Yes.
My mother's father is Irish. So back there in segregation, we didn't count. We were considered as 3/5 of a person. So I wanted to bring out also, along with what my husband saw in me, my Irish blood. And I thinking about Ireland and those places back there in the hats. So it's a tradition that I have brought to the family based on my grandfathers, who could not be known that he was my grandfather.
Well, it's a beautiful addition that you've brought into your family and your history for sure. And we certainly are grateful and appreciative of it. Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna one last call for questions. Let's see, any hands? Okay, so I am Beverly Brown. You stole my thunder because basically, I'm gonna go with it anyway.
Okay, go for it.
But I'm gonna borrow one of Dr. Pratt's inside quotes, Your remarks should be, now I'm all like flustered because it's not my thunder any longer, but you said it really well. That should be like a lady's dress, long enough to be attractive and short enough to cover the subject.
That's right.
I love it. Love it, love it. And so with that, I just want to say thank you so much for joining in the conversation. Everyone here, those who are here those who traveled from far, and those who are right here in Nyack, thank you so much. It's a testament to Frances, really, and how she brings people together. Everyone who was responsible for making this event possible. Thank you, Rivertown Film, Matthew Seek, Vera Aronow, Susan Hillary, Suzanne Mitchell, and last but not least, for sure, the star of the Pratt in the Hat. Thank you, Frances, so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Frances, so much.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm going to put it right back to Vera, who will finish off with some remarks, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, panelists. I think we could have a round of applause for the filmmakers and for Frances Pratt, and you can unmute for a change.
Bravo.
Bravo, bravo. Thank you.
And can I just say one thing?
Yes.
That to me, what Susan did with Frances was actually build on her art as a painter, and she created a beautiful painting portrait of who Frances is as a person, with all the color and vibrance that one would see in an actual still image. And to combine those talents with the most wonderful subject, again, thank you to both of you for allowing me to be part of this project.
Thank you.
Thank
Glad
you
I'm
for all
here.
your help.
It's been a privilege to be here for this community discussion. It's been a privilege to witness the honor and the recognition from the New York State Senate, and to have your family members here, Frances. We just can't give you enough warm regards. And thanks to Susan Hillary and Suzanne Mitchell and Maria Whittingham. And thanks to everyone for coming. And one reminder to please check out Rivertown's website. For tomorrow night, we have another incredible community Rockland event with Bill Batson is going to lead a discussion of the films of Kathleen Collins, who was a Piermont resident and who drew on the talents of many other people in Rockland, Sam Wayman, and so on, who are known to a lot of you, and excellent films. So I invite everybody to come back for that. And thank you again.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you and your husband. I met him first. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Matthew? Okay, have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Francis.
Thank
I
you.
want one of those hats.
You're welcome. Y'all won't miss it, so come and get it.
Okay, Beverly, you heard Francis. Beverly.
I heard.
Okay,
We'll do a road.
thank
We'll do a
you.
Thank you. Well, you're going to be retiring soon. I know. Bye-bye hats.
Bye,
Thank-
Lynn.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you,
See you,
Beverly.
Dr.
Bye,
Pratt.
Francis.
Good night,
Okay,
everyone.
Okay,
Good
thanks
night.
for inviting me,
Good night.
Beverly.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Thank you.
night. Thank you.
So then the film is actually tonight was the last night of the film. The
Tomorrow
film-
night.
Hello?
Tomorrow, it's still playing tomorrow, right?
It's-
Yes, all the way through Thursday.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank God bless.
God bless. Good night.
Nice seeing you again, Dr. Pratt. Nice seeing you again.
You too. Lovely. You fit
Okay.
right into the family. You
Yes.
look just like us. Yes. Thank
Okay. Great. Great.
Yeah. We'll get together soon.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.